I have the honor of introducing to you our moderator today, Amy Rosenthal, who is the president of McKinney Main Street. And if you haven't been downtown McKinney, which I don't know anyone who hasn't been downtown McKinney, you've seen just the vibrancy of our historic downtown square. And Amy's had a very integral part in that as she's helped lead all the business leaders and community leaders and making that transformation. And it's such a gem for our community. So with that, please help me welcome Amy Rosenthal.
Yeah. Hi. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you to our VIP production audience and everyone that's watching online today. So each year, the state of the city helps our community come together, and we discuss meaningful topics. So this year, more than ever, it's very important for us to be together and to talk about the future and the vision of our city. So today we have a panel of guests that each provides a unique McKinney perspective. So please help me welcome Mayor George Fuller, McKinney City Manager, Mr. Grimes, Collin College President Dr. Neil Matkin, and McKinney ISD Superintendent Dr. Rick McDaniel. Great. So let's go ahead and get things started with a video from the city of McKinney.
The last year and a half, I will candidly say, has been one of the most challenging periods in my entire career. But we got through it, and I'll tell you what I think was the biggest benefit that we had and the biggest asset we had were the relationships that we established in our community.
Those relationships proved to be critical when we made the decision to set up a vaccination hub with the help of our community partners.
We geared up for the worst possible scenario that you could imagine. We didn't know anything about the virus. Since then, a couple vaccines have been developed, and we were very instrumental with our partners to develop a vaccination hub and administer the vaccine to over 60,000 people. Not only were we able to vaccinate the people that came to the hub, we conducted outreach, and then we were able to get to homebound or people that were not as mobile, and we were able to deliver a number of vaccines that way.
We took steps to not only address COVID, but also our overall community health. The Family Health Center was initiated by Independent Financial, a great corporate partner in our community, but also our Community Development Corporation and our Economic Development Corporation all stepped up with large investments to help fund what is now a first-rate, Class A facility for all of Collin County.
And the clinic here doesn't turn anybody away. It provides a method for people to get treatment, even though they may not have insurance. They get on a sliding scale, they get taken care of, and that was pretty much needed in the community. We had other places that would do free care, but it was limited on what their extent was.
Another aspect of community health is the benefits our parks and public spaces have on everyone.
From the outset of the pandemic, it became more clear than ever that parks and recreation is essential to our community. In fact, we saw more and more people enjoying our parks, our trails. One of the main reasons that we renovated Cottonwood Park was to be able to provide more programming here in this neighborhood. And we're so excited to see more people here enjoying the park on a daily basis. We achieved a major goal this year with the acquisition of 300 acres of quality new parkland. This is located north of 380 and is adjacent to Irwin Park, which together forms approximately 500 acres of connected parkland in our park system. Prior to the pandemic, we had envisioned to upgrade and enhance the Senior Recreation Center. Once we knew we had to shut down for an extended period, we made the decision to go ahead and do a full renovation and expansion of the current building.
When we first started, some of those exercises were very difficult to do because, we've been couch potatoes for a year and a half during the pandemic. And this allowed us to build up muscle and tone up. I mean, I'd show you my muscle, but you'd probably make everybody jealous. This is from working out in the water.
Old Settlers Recreation Center has long been the heart and soul of this neighborhood. We completed a major renovation and expansion of adding over 8,000 square feet of new usable space.
As we celebrate the opening of these renovated facilities, we're also able to celebrate the inaugural year of hosting the Byron Nelson Golf Tournament. The Byron Nelson provides a number of things. Being broadcast across the world, sure, that puts a spotlight on our community, but not just the golf course. If you watched the Byron Nelson, you saw them highlight McKinney, talk about our city, show our downtown. It's exposing our great community to the entire world. The Community Development Corporation and the City of McKinney both contributed to the Byron, helping make that possible here. Hosting the tournament our first year, we had just 10,000 people, with capacities being limited due to COVID. We're going to see that grow to 30, 40, 50,000 people in the future. Those are people that come to our community, they spend dollars in our city. Another added benefit is that we have several announcements that we're going to be able to make in the very near future of additional corporate locates as a direct result of the Byron Nelson being played here in McKinney. We also have exciting projects in the works for the east side of McKinney.
So the East Side Redevelopment Project is effectively a revitalization effort in an industrial part of McKinney. That is an area that has a lot of history. It's mostly industrial and mill-oriented, but those industries have left, and now we have an opportunity to take that history and transform it into a catalyst project. We're going to have a city hall as sort of an anchor on the north side of the flour mill.
The new municipal complex, our city hall, is not just an administrative facility. It will have outdoor spaces with the idea and the focus of it being a community gathering place, a place to connect and engage with one another. As the East Side becomes prime for redevelopment, we've had great success in keeping our local economy moving.
Even during the pandemic, we had lots of economic development activity. It didn't really fall off at all. We're very excited by that. Raytheon Corporation has announced a big $350 million expansion in a couple of phases. When you bring a company like Raytheon and you bring those kinds of tech skills, you're bringing more than just the salaries to the community. They're going to be sending their kids to our school. They're going to be at the ball games. They're going to be coaching youth sports. All of those things are the benefits that we get in our community.
Our Economic Development Corporation has put a real focus on technology and startups, tech companies, creating the Innovation Fund to help subsidize and help get off the ground some of those new innovative companies by giving them the assistance they need to get started. As those companies grow, they'll hire more employees, and they'll help attract other technology companies. And we as a community, we have an opportunity to lead on that front. With new businesses and companies moving here, we have other new projects for everyone that will be opening soon.
I'm excited to talk about the Hub and Hub 121 for that matter. Two different places, similar names, but they're going to provide sort of a modern environment for people to come dine, entertain, socialize in an area and environment with a kind of the mixed use of office and entertainment and dining and music, etc.
And also at the intersection of Alma and 121, we have District 121, which will be another gathering place with office space as well as shopping, dining, and entertainment. All of that should be opening up in the next year.
For many years, residents of McKinney told us we don't have enough places to dine and hang out and be entertained. We have to go out of town for that. Well, this is changing, and these projects are very exciting for that.
As we look back, there's a lot to celebrate in McKinney. Over the last 2 years and through COVID, we've seen the Byron Nelson move to McKinney. We've seen the highest business growth that we've ever had. We've seen our sales tax revenues continue to grow. We've seen business development, residential growth, and all of that through the last 2 years. Imagine what's to come. We've done the work and we've prepared. We've come together as a community, and there's never been a more exciting time to live in the city of McKinney. We're looking to tomorrow, and tomorrow's future is bright.
Wonderful. So let's start with questions for Mayor Fuller and Mr. Grimes. So Mayor, you're going to kick it off. The city of McKinney continues to see record growth. Can you talk with us about some of the exciting economic development announcements that occurred this year?
I can. You know, as I watched that video, I realized two things. One, what I'm going to talk about is going to be much of what I just talked about, and secondly, I need a haircut. But you know, Paul in the video talked about Raytheon. What a fantastic corporate partner we have in Raytheon. And Raytheon, over the last 3 years, has invested about $500 million in McKinney and producing what will be over 1,200 new high-paying jobs. And it'd be easy to think that, you know, Raytheon did that because, one, they need to as a company, and they have their campus here in McKinney. But the reality is we competed with many campuses that they have across many different states. And that's a real testament to what McKinney is as a community in all of its facets that Raytheon chooses to continue to invest and expand here. Independent Financial, their second phase, now under construction, glass going on that building right now. Ultimately, we're talking about 380,000 feet just in the first phase and this now second phase, and what will be between retained and new jobs, 2,000. Good-paying, high-paying jobs here in McKinney. And they have another 16 acres. They have room on the current campus for a third phase. So great things to come there. The Innovation Fund in McKinney, an EDC initiative, was created to foster new business growth in leading industries of the future. And I think over the past 17 months or so, EDC has done 19 different deals that will bring what we believe to be about 500 new tech jobs here to McKinney, and just creating a innovative ecosystem that will breed opportunity for collaboration with these types of companies and just opportunities for future business ventures. You saw in the video Hub 121 and District 121. So we have a lot of new multi-use developments with entertainment, restaurant, retail. We have the Kaizen first 8-story office building being built, Class A office building there in District 121. Exciting stuff. The Hub up on Custer and 380, which will be, if you're not familiar with the Hub, just a real family-oriented 4-acre portion of that development devoted to restaurant, outdoor entertainment, music, yoga in the yard for some, not me. But lots of fun things for McKinney. HEB is coming. Everyone knows HEB, right? They're coming. And the Byron Nelson, we'll talk more about that probably later.
Yes, we will.
But lots of great things going on here in the city of McKinney.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mayor. So, Mr. Grimes, this next question is for you. East of Highway 5 development has been a hot topic. So with plans for a new city hall and nearby entertainment and park areas, can you talk with us a little bit about what we can expect to see as redevelopment occurs and what work is being done to include and inform residents?
Well, thank you, Amy. Thanks. Hello, everybody. I got to say hi to some of you, but not everybody, and now I can't see you. So I'm going to assume you're all there. Anyway, so when we think about East of Highway 5, it's really a revitalization effort. So for city management nerds like myself, these are the mother of all redevelopment projects. These are the types of things that you really are excited about because you're taking a blighted area, old industrial area, certainly not the highest and best use anymore for the community, and try to transform it into something that is a higher and better use, and which of course creates places, right? It's about making places for people. But it's not just a revitalization project. It brings other things. You don't just start a revitalization. You also have to, it brings with it a neighborhood preservation study, right? We have to look at ways. So what some people would consider revitalization, others in the community use terms like gentrification. Now, gentrification doesn't always have to be bad. It's gotten a bad connotation in recent years. And if it's not handled properly, it's negative, or it can have negative aspects to it. But what we're trying to do is evaluate how do we preserve the neighborhoods and the communities? How do we not drive people out of their homes because their rents went up so high? Or how do we make sure that there's enough affordable housing for the folks that are there? Because that's the historic neighborhood. And the council has been very, very purposeful in directing staff to say, listen, this is a twofer. It's not just redeveloping City Hall and creating catalyst projects, which is what it is. But it's also how do we preserve the existing neighborhoods and the character of the east side of Highway 5. So that is, the two come together. And so we've got folks working on both angles. City Hall, of course, is the big deal. We're estimating somewhere between $85 and $100 million investment by the community for really what will be a showcase project for a generation. This will be the location for almost all of our city operating departments will be, not public works, not public safety for obvious reasons. They have to be out forward deployed, so to speak. But for all of our other departments that are leasing offices, various places, it's very inefficient. We lose a lot of commuting time. We have employees having to transit from one place to another. That's just inefficient. So the City Hall project itself will be the centerpiece of the east of Highway 5. The council has not named it yet. I sort of informally call it the Flour Mill District, but not City Hall itself, Mr. Fuller. But anyway, the council will figure out what name they're going to call that district. But just imagine it's centered in around the flour mill, and you're going to see lots of development, and it starts with City Hall. The construction on City Hall is anticipated to begin next September. That's the notice to proceed under our schedule right now. The notice to proceed would be issued in September of 2022. and then it's about a 24 to 26 month construction cycle. So if you're in my seat, it seems like this stuff happens so slowly, and it's, you're waiting and you're waiting. I know the mayor gets impatient and others as well, but when you look back in 5 years, the whole area will be very, very different than what you see today. And that's, for us, is what's very exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Grimes. So another question for you, Mr. Grimes. The business community has identified workforce housing as a challenge for recruitment and retention of talent. Recently, the City Council initiated a housing needs assessment to identify and quantify those needs. So increased ownership product diversity was listed as one of the top 4 needs in McKinney. With this research complete, what are Council's next steps to create an environment where diversified housing products can be built?
So the way I answer that, I'm going to start with a little bit more philosophical viewpoint of it. If you want to have a thriving, flourishing community and a thriving, flourishing economy, you have to have labor. You have to have a workforce who has the skills and the talents able to perform the work. And while there's lots of advances in AI and augmented reality and all these things that are going to make work different, you're still going to need people. You can't replace people. But the employees have to have skills. And if you're a young person coming out of college, or even just coming with a vocational degree, which we absolutely need and need more of, you can't really afford to buy a house in McKinney, Texas, or anywhere in North Texas for that matter. It is becoming the policy challenge of our time is trying to figure out, how do we have affordable housing for folks, starter homes, apartments, what we call the missing middle, which are townhomes and duplexes and those types of things where people start to build wealth for themselves when they have ownership and they have equity in homes and real estate. And, from a bedroom community who's used to large HOAs and large homes, which was great at that period of time, young workforce, those folks who are going to be sending their kids to school, those folks who are going to be paying our taxes, those folks for you in the room, the boomer generation and even the older Generation Xers like me, these are the folks who are going to be paying into Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. We need them in our community, and we need to they have to be able to find a place to live if they're going to be part of the economy. So this is really important. The council, the Chamber of Commerce, I think Lisa was just on the news yesterday, the day before. The business community has been very vocal about this, that we've got to have a fix for our housing issues. We commissioned a study by a company by the name of Root Consulting. They did sort of a snapshot view of where are we today with housing, what's missing, where are we, where do we have a lot of housing in a particular category, and where are we falling short? And then from that, they've given us a variety of different sort of a menu of strategies that we in the City Council can adopt to address some of these issues. It won't happen overnight, and it won't happen with one thing. There is no one single answer. It's going to be a sort of a smorgasbord of strategies that we have to adopt, from maybe loosening our code requirements to allow different types of housing mix. Maybe it's we have the container homes on the east side, the Habitat for Humanity project, which is extremely exciting. That's a totally different product. That's not something that was in anybody's wheelhouse 10 years ago. We have to be open-minded to doing those types of things. We talk about adopting some sort of an apartment set-aside program where maybe there's an incentive for apartment builders. That's a booming market right now. And say, well, why don't you set aside some of those units for income level that would otherwise not be able to afford those. So there's all these different approaches and strategies that before you know it, you've got a pretty good program in place, and you're going to get a number of units, because we need thousands of units, not hundreds. We need thousands of units that are going to be affordable for folks who are going to represent the future of our workforce and raise their kids and send them to our school. So,
yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mr. Grimes.
I have to try to figure out where to cut off.
Yeah, housing. So Mayor, let's wrap it up with you on this final question. So this spring, McKinney was highlighted on the national front after successfully hosting the Byron Nelson Golf Tournament. So can you share with us the economic impacts for McKinney, and what can we expect in the future?
Sure, but before I do, I want to say we've been talking. We saw a video about where we are in McKinney and the great things that are happening in McKinney. And this past, or just I think it was yesterday, we were at the funeral for Mayor Bill Whitfield, who passed away. And I just want to mention Bill and John Gay and Brian Lockman, all the mayors and the council people that have served before. I've had the privilege of serving, that have really set up McKinney for the great success that we have. And so I just want to honor, make sure I didn't want to let this day pass without honoring Mayor Bill Whitfield, who just passed away, his wife and family who are still here. The Byron Nelson, what a great event that was. It was a great party. It was a great tournament. I did not play in it. I could have, I think, but in my mind. But reality says something very different. We were, of course, had a lot of challenges with COVID, and attendance was restricted significantly from what it will be this next tournament and the years to come. But even with that, we had Momentous Institute, which it benefits. I think they raised $5.5 million. There was over 15.2 million viewers. There was 21 million hours of watching, on TV across the world. It didn't just showcase Craig Ranch and the TPC course, which is a wonderful asset to our community, but spent a lot of time. If you watched the tournament, you saw our historic downtown and other areas and aspects of our community. So it showcased and spotlighted McKinney on a international level. And the economic impact, what we see when you look at what was measured a decade ago, for example, in Las Colinas, where at that time they saw about a $42 million economic impact. Now, again, think about the time. That's over. That's almost a decade ago. That impact here with what we expect in attendance is going to be in that $50-60 million range. And in addition to that, we're already seeing introductions and meetings taking place with corporations that have saw McKinney, got introduced to McKinney, got introduced to our EDC at that tournament. Conversations developed, and now we're in discussions about those companies and opportunities they see here in the community. So nothing but exciting things to come moving forward with the Byron, and I can say that we are in the final discussions of extending the Byron in McKinney to 2030.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. That's the future is bright. So thank you so much, Mayor Fuller and Mr. Grimes. We're going to move on next to McKinney ISD. So let's talk a little education with Dr. Rick McDaniel. So COVID has caused a huge disruption in education. We've seen learning loss that has occurred across the state. Has MISD seen the same type of learning loss? And how is the district working to help get students back on their education track?
Well, thank you. That's a good question. We have it's a multifaceted answer here, but let me just start it by saying this. When I hear all of this, from Mr. Grimes and our mayor, I can just honestly say I've never been more proud to be a citizen in McKinney, the city of McKinney, than I am right now. And I'm certainly proud to even have an opportunity to sit up on the stage with these gentlemen and be a part of what we're all collectively trying to work towards. It has been a challenging year and a half for any school district in the nation or world. And I'll take you back to March of 2020 when we left for spring break. And no one had any idea that when we left for spring break, we would not be coming back to school at all that year. And then, of course, last year, we responded to the absolute best that we could to try to provide a combination of both in-person and virtual learning to our students. Now, it would be naive of us to say that there was not some level of learning loss over the last 18 months. But I believe that McKinney ISD responded appropriately, and we did a tremendous job. And I want to take this time to give a special shout out to our teachers, our administrators that worked through that very difficult time to continue to provide a first-class education during a very trying time. Let me give you some statistics. As you all know, there are some districts around this area, some down south of us, that chose not to even come back at all in person this year. We chose to come back in person because we believe those connections matter. We believe for the mental health of our students and the social and emotional growth of our students, they need to be back in front of a teacher in person. So that is why we chose to come back in person this year. That said, we were at 82% of our students in person last year during the height of COVID. So that in itself tells you and should convince you all of the importance of being back in front of a teacher in a live setting. That is not to say that some students did not perform well virtually, but we all know, because we were all high school students and middle school students at one time, that being in person with a teacher who challenges you face to face is absolutely the best way to go. So all of that to say, the learning loss that she references really, while it did occur to some extent, especially in the areas of math, as you can imagine, math was hard to do online. But for the most part, we outperformed not only the region, we outperformed the state. And I'm very proud of the effort that our district had throughout this entire last 18 months dealing with COVID. So that'd be my response.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. McDaniel. So as you plan for future growth of the district, where do you see this growth occurring, and what facilities will the district need to support that growth?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you to the city of McKinney. As you know, last spring we had, at the height of this pandemic, we had a bond election, $245 million bond election, overwhelmingly pass. And that's the second large one in the last 5 years, 5.5 years. That is tremendous support from our community. And I'm glad that you provide that support because, as you all know, we are about half built out in terms of the area of our school district. I get asked this question a lot, how far north do we go? Well, you can go up to Trinity Falls and see that the growth in the Trinity Falls area is just booming right now, which is why we passed the bond this last spring in order that we could build an elementary school in the Trinity Falls area. That said, there is a tremendous amount of growth just north of 380 in the Irwin Farm subdivision. I believe you've got Painted Tree coming down the pike. And so it's just a matter of time before all of that area fills in. So we'll have to put another elementary school, not only in Trinity Falls, but also just north of 380 in that Painted Tree area. So lots of growth coming our way. We are prepared for it. We are prepared financially. We are prepared from a planning standpoint. And you can rest assured we're going to bring the best of best teachers to this city because of the reasons we've already evidenced here today.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. McDaniel. So we all know that teachers work so hard to educate our future workforce, and that was even more evident with the challenges they faced teaching during a pandemic. So what is the district doing to help support teachers, and what can the community do to show their appreciation?
Well, I'll start with this. We pay as high as any other district in the entire area, right? And that is by design. We absolutely understand that it should be a mission of ours to bring the best of the best educators to this area. That said, we have the same level of growth in all of these districts surrounding us. They all have beautiful buildings. The things that make us special are the fact that we still have that small town feel, even though we're a city that's on the uptick in terms of growth. I will tell you this. Our teachers feel supported for a number of reasons. Number one, every time I have an opportunity to give them kudos like I just did, I'm going to always lift them up. The job that they do, I think a lot of parents got to see firsthand when they were doing some teaching from home, how difficult that job is, right? And so I want to always lift our teachers up when given the opportunity, but dollars speak volumes, and we do pay at the very top end of the scale. A new teacher coming into McKinney ISD makes $58,000 a year, right out of college. That is tremendous. That's number one in this entire area. We also provide lots of professional development. We always want to hire from within whenever we're moving up teachers that might want to move into administration. I will always give an opportunity to get not only the best person, but someone who's from McKinney and has been raised within our system, that opportunity. And that keeps people here. That makes them understand, look, I can be a part of something that's going to be growing for a long period of time. So those are just some of the things we do. And I think that answers the question.
It does, absolutely. Right. And so we have one final question for you, Dr. McDaniel. We just finished a legislative session and 3 special sessions. Were there any particular pieces that passed that will impact public schools?
Well, I guess the one that jumps out, and I'm sure everyone has heard about this, House Bill 4545. Let me just take you back to the STAR test, which everyone is in this room familiar with. It is the state of Texas assessment, right? And every spring we take this. Well, last year at the height of COVID, students were given an option. They could opt out of the test or they could show up and take it. Well, as you know, it was the most difficult year we've had in terms of educating our kids. So the state said, look, we're going to go ahead and administer the test. We'll give you your results, but not everyone has to take it if they choose not to. Well, then House Bill 4545 comes back along and says, oh, by the way, this is after the fact. If you failed any part of the STAR test, grades 3 through 8, you must have 30 hours of additional, they call it accelerated learning, but it's tutoring. Sounds great on the surface, but as you all know, we're finding it hard to get teachers right now and get that portion of House Bill 4545 actually administered because it does not allow you to do it with the teacher of record. For instance, a teacher of record in biology can't stop down their day and go tutor this child over here one-on-one. It has to occur outside of the school day, which gives us two options: before school, after school, or during the summer. So I guess that's three options, isn't it, right? So those are our options, and we have to provide 30 hours for every single test that they miss. While that sounds good on the surface, who pays for that? That's something that was kind of cast upon us that we have to find a way to pay for. Fortunately, we're in a position at McKinney ISD that we have the funds to do so, but can you imagine being a district that was stretched thin and then having that announced to you at the last 11th hour? So as we move forward, we're prepared. We believe in catching these kids up. Several of them did fall behind, but I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of our plan moving forward. But House Bill 4545 would be the main one that jumps out at me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. McNeil. So all that you do for our kids and for our schools, we appreciate it. And let's move on to higher education. And sorry, Dr. McDaniel. Live production here. So higher education, Collin College is delivering bright futures for students and communities and is nationally recognized for innovation and impact. Let's view their video now.
The county voted to open a college in 1985, and the first location chosen by the board was the county seat in the center of the county, which was McKinney. From that time, we've grown dramatically. So throughout those years of partnerships, now over 3 decades long, coming into the 37th year, we've just had a fantastic partnership that continues to grow. The city of McKinney and McKinney ISD have something in common with Collin. We have incredible boards or city councils that are forward-looking, and we have leadership that's willing to collaborate and also look forward.
In our career technical education programs, we have program advisory committees. These are made up of industry leaders who come and help us reshape our programs here at the college. Very, very valuable resource for us. Our learners are sought out by business and industry, and a good example of that is our respiratory therapy program. The learners that are in their second year of that program, it's a 2-year program, they haven't graduated yet, but already 70% of those learners have had job offers. We are extremely honored to have this particular program, our Bachelor of Science Nursing program. It is a high quality and very affordable program. It's a high demand program, and I think everybody will agree that through the pandemic, we have seen the need for more healthcare professionals, especially in the nursing field.
The Bachelor of Science and Nursing program is benefiting the healthcare environment by way of the classes and things that we have. Our program deals with research, leadership, looking at informatics, and we also are out there looking in the community. The biggest benefit that I look at and the students are looking at is the cost. Tuition rise, it's affordable for people. It's a well-rounded college that takes students first.
So when we look at the future, we think in terms of relevance, we think in terms of opportunity, we think in terms of low cost and high quality. And with the faculty that we have, we've attracted a world-class faculty. We have a world-class facilities, and we have it at a price point that means that our students can avoid student debt, And that sets them on a path for prosperity and keeps them in a very good place for the future, and we're very proud of that.
So we asked Dr. McDaniel about the last legislative session, and so we'll ask you the same thing, Dr. Matkin. Anything from those sessions that impact Collin College?
Well, yes, we had a very good year legislatively. And this last legislative session, we were able to get legislation passed that authorizes us for introducing 2 additional bachelor's degrees, bringing our total to 5. The board has already approved, and we're already offering a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and a Bachelor of Applied Technology in Cybersecurity, an area that affects all of us today in this connected world. Our 3rd bachelor's degree, and we just got coordinating board approval for it this very week, is in construction management. Everyone asks me, what are the next 2? I'm not going to tell you because I don't know yet. But there are whole groups of folks that are working across our district, the entire region, to figure out where those are. One of the big needs, though, that have been expressed to us that we're working with our university partners on is to create a reliable pipeline to train new teachers for our ISD partners. It's getting more and more difficult to fill all those vacancies, and we're working to do that. The other piece of legislation that passed, I think that's important, was we had some new grant funding that'll be coming through the coordinating board, about $15 million in one of the special sessions. We also had some cleanup language on the school marshal bill that allows us to implement the school marshal program should the board choose to go forward with that. And it really just clears some hurdles that were cleanup legislation from a previous time. But overall, very good legislative session. I would think the biggest thing, though, is something that didn't get passed. There were proposals to change the funding formula and the student success formula that would have penalized Collin College dramatically. And as the fastest growing college in the state over the last 2 years, both in graduations, we graduated our highest number of students in our history, as well as an actual student head count, we were looking at a future that would not have rewarded us for those efforts, and that did not get taken up or passed. So as a result, our biennium funding went up the highest in the state, and we're very, very grateful for the legislature for acknowledging the growing colleges. And certainly there are some challenges for those colleges that are not growing, but we were not looking forward to a future where we had to come up with those dollars, so we're very grateful for that.
Fantastic, thank you. So Collin College has been on a growth trajectory. Can you talk about the recent campus openings and what work is being done on current facilities?
I don't even know where to start. The last 18 months, I guess I'll go back a little bit in time. We've opened 4 brand new campuses and brand new locations in 18 months. So the pandemic for us has been an exercise in long hours. And I want to give a shout out to the Collin College board and the Collin College leadership team and all the faculty and the staff. I've never seen a group of people come together and work harder to accomplish something during the most difficult circumstances. How would you like to recruit and staff 4 new campuses? We're talking about the technical campus in Allen is 340,000 square feet. It's huge, able to serve over 5,000 students. The full campus in Wiley, 340,000 square feet, able to serve 7,500 students. We opened this fall in Salina, a brand new campus there, and a brand new campus in Farmersville, as well as an IT center in Frisco. So all those things happened during a time period where folks weren't really traveling a lot. Interviews were all by Zoom. And so we had some real challenges. The supply chain that everybody's talking about today, we experienced in the construction side of things a year ago as a result of COVID. So there are a whole lot of challenges to overcome, and I just want to give a big shout out again to the team at Collin, because folks diligently worked to get us through that. To that point, you asked about the future. If you go by the McKinney campus, our original campus right now, you'll see a beautiful new welcome center being built, but more than that, you're seeing a revitalization of the campus and some solving of some parking issues for many, many years. A lot of construction there, and it's just absolutely beautiful, and I would encourage you to drive by and take a look.
Wow. Well, one last question for you, Dr. Matkin. How did the pandemic affect your student population in terms of enrollment numbers? And are you seeing any trends as we look forward to better days ahead?
It's a great question, and I appreciate it. The first fall after the pandemic began that March, we were pleasantly surprised to be one of 2 colleges in the state that saw minor enrollment growth. Over the entire community college sector, there's about a 15% decline. We went down a little bit, about 4.1% when all the heads are counted this fall, but our contact hours, the actual amount of course time that's being generated, actually stayed about the same. So we are seeing some minor decreases this fall, still way above the curve, and we're very grateful for that. But there are some changes long term. We've certainly seen a growth in our online offerings. We have an online campus called Collin, and it's grown at a rate that exceeded anything we had planned for. And so we've had to adjust along the way. And I think that as time goes on, we're going to continue to see a broader mix of in-person, face-to-face, as well as hybrid classes, part in-person, part online, as well as our online offerings. But the main thing is to make sure that students have a pathway to achieve their goals, and we're very grateful that Collin did not suffer the losses. I also want to mention a big change that's happened in a lot of places is there have been quiet layoffs of employees and faculty. I'm very, very proud of the Collin College board during the pandemic, during the early stages of it. Not a single person was laid off. Everybody received a paycheck, including student part-time workers, including part-time faculty, including part-time staff. And so I think that's phenomenal. It's a true commitment to getting the college to a better place. And again, we've got a fantastic team, and I think we'll continue adjusting, meeting student needs and expectations long into the future.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Matkin, and thank you to all of our panelists, Dr. McDaniel, Mayor Fuller, Mr. Grimes. We're grateful for the dedication and the commitment of devoted leaders like yourselves, and together we are better. And now it's time for the insider experience. So we have questions from our audience, questions that are coming in online for our panelists today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Dr. McDaniel. We've received an online question that says, that they would like to know more about if MISD has considered or when it might ever implement an online learning program for students, either hybrid or fully online.
Well, let me start with just a little correction on something I said earlier. It's not really a correction, just a clarification. For me to say that online learning is not good for some individuals, that's not exactly true. We have offered online options over the last year and a half. And what we've seen is that the vast majority of students learn better in person. That is not to say that some students can't perform at a high level learning online. Just so you'll know, we had plans in place to offer both. And what we found out at the beginning of this past school year in the summer is that Texas Education Agency announced that they would not be funding any online learning across the state. Now, that made it very difficult for us. We had plans in place, ready to go. And some districts, I believe Frisco, announced that they were going to have an academy, which kudos to them for having that. But they had that in place before the Texas Education Agency announced that they would not be funding online learning. Well, as you can imagine, they had to narrow their scope as to the number of individuals that were going to be able to participate in the online learning, and they had to narrow the time frame with which they were going to be able to operate. We decided that we were going to come back 100% in person. And to say that we are not going to consider some level of online in the future was really incumbent upon whether or not it's funded by our legislature. So we're going to do that if it's funded, and I will stick with what I said earlier. It is our belief that students learn best when they're in person in front of a teacher who is pressing them, challenging them, and offering instant feedback. But that is not to say that some students don't learn online and do a good job. That's just why Dr. Mackin has such an effective program at Collin College. So that'd be my answer.
Thank you, Dr. McDaniel. Mr. Grimes, this question has come in for you. It's about the McKinney National Airport. So McKinney National Airport continues to be an economic engine for the city of McKinney. So can you talk about a timeline for the opening of the new FBO and the future plans for the airport?
the question and to whomever it was that sent the question in. I want to start my response, though, by just letting you know. So in the break, I was wondering, I have to leave early. I have to catch a flight. It's my anniversary this week. And all the credibility I built with my wife would be lost if we miss our flight. So I'm going to be quietly exiting to the side. Now, the mayor and I debated, what could we do to really spice it up? He could say, you know what, get out. And I would leave. Or I would set the microphone down or drop the mic and just say, I'm done. But we thought, let's not do that. Anyway, it has nothing to do with the airport, so let's get to the airport. McKinney National Airport, huge asset, not just for McKinney. It's a major economic driver for Collin County, a county that's 1.1 million residents now, that's going to grow to 3 million or more residents in the future. The future of McKinney National Airport is very, very bright. We're working with our EDC. I see our EDC folks down here, so I got to be very nice to them because we're looking to them to be helping us in the future, along with our Community Development Corporation, who's sitting back there, and coming together with a good strategy, cohesive strategy for the future of McKinney National Airport. We've got a runway extension that's under design right now. The first part of that extension will be underway this next year. It'll start construction in the fall, or probably actually the summer. And then the other part to the north, which is much more complicated because there's a significant grade issue and they have to come in and fill and compact, which is very expensive and time consuming. And that'll be done subsequent to that. When you build runways, you got to build aprons. You got to build taxiways to get to the new runway. All of this stuff is not hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's millions and millions of dollars. The runway extension itself is expected to be about $59 million. Most of the funding has been secured, but there's still some additional funding we need to get. Taxiways are not funded. We'll get some FAA assistance, and TxDOT assistance, but it takes time to work all of that through the system, and you have to do it over a period of years. The FBO terminal is, it was delayed last year. The contractor who was under construction at the time had some financial difficulties, went bankrupt. We had a very, very good contract to protect the city. Unfortunately, you have to go through the process of, working through the terms of the contract. The good news is we have a great contractor now. Unfortunately, they're tripped up like everybody else in the supply chain challenges that we're all facing. They had a hard time getting some of the window products in place so that they had to change some of the materials. Change some of the materials, you got to change the specs on the actual construction, go back, get it inspected or get it reviewed. So all of these things have kind of conspired against getting the project done on time, but it is moving along. They're telling us probably January or February of 2022, the new FBO terminal will be completed. That will be the front door for all of the private aviation folks, the charter flights, executive corporate travel. That is our front door. Then it's going to be a great one. That FBO terminal is going to be really a first-class facility, and we're very excited about it. It's just we've had to be a little patient on this. Like anything today, I remember a time, not maybe 10 years ago, where it used to be we'd go out and do a project. We'd put a project out to the market, and the engineers would get the estimated cost of construction, and it would come in below. And that happened for a while. I remember those days. That's just a long way from where we are today. If we wait a day, the price is going up. We're lamenting this around here because capital projects are just very expensive right now. We're seeing it in the private side, public sector, same thing, and it is a significant challenge we're having to work through. Our capital funds that we went out and raised in bond elections, won't go as far when we have these costs like they are. But anyway, we're pressing ahead, and we're very excited about the TKI. I knew when I said late, it's still late. That was it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is a live production here. So, okay, moving on to you, sir. If you actually could get one item addressed by our state representatives in the next legislative session, what would that be?
Boy, you didn't want to ask me that question. We're live, right? I'm going to shake it up anyway. You know what? I'm just going to say generally what I would like to see from our state legislators. I'd like to see from our legislators across the country. But right now, man, I want our legislators to be courageous leaders and remember that they are there on behalf of everyone in this room to make purpose-driven decisions. And I've been watching, what's happened on the state level with the elections going on right now, or campaigns starting right now. I see it, and of course our federal campaign starting. Congressman Van Taylor, who I have great respect for, getting slammed because he had the audacity to try to work with others across the aisle to get things done for everyone in this room, everyone in this state. And the absurdity and the ridiculousness and the lack of courage that's exemplified when our legislators are making partisan-driven decisions, primary-driven decisions. So what I would like to see is courage. Remember, you're there for everyone in this room that elected you. You're there to make purpose-driven decisions. That takes working with others to get it done. And all the other nonsense and ridiculousness. If I had one wish, they would lead with courage on behalf of everyone in this room, not partisan nonsense.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Frazier is running for state legislative, and he exemplifies that courage. And I look forward to him down in Austin.
Yeah, great. So, Dr. Mackin, same question.
Mayor, those are incredibly aspirational goals, which I think everyone in this room shares. But I've got a little bit of a more pragmatic, perhaps, ask. And when I look at higher education funding and funding of K-12 for that matter, I see that it becomes a difficult challenge of where the state's going to put limited resources. But I'm very, very proud here in Collin County. We have the lowest cost tuition of all 50 community colleges, and I believe the highest quality. We have the second lowest tax rate in the state at less than 4% of someone's tax bill. I want to see the state take a hard look, and they are taking a hard look through a community college financial commission this year. And I don't want to see local control lost. I don't want to see taking a high-quality institution and shipwrecking it unintentionally. I again want those thoughtful decisions, but I also want to see investments. I believe that higher education and education in general is the singular best investment for our citizenry to lift them to a better life. And the college's vision is to create brighter futures for our communities and our students. And I think we do that best when we're funded at a level that allows us to make those decisions locally and continue with a high-quality product at a low price to students. Avoiding student debt, priceless, worth its weight in gold.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mackin. Dr. McDaniel, I have a question for you. So what can we do to stop teachers leaving education because they are frustrated or overworked? How can we support our teachers?
Well, I'm going to start with this, and this is, I'm going to speak philosophically as well here, okay? I'm a lifelong educator myself, getting in the business back in 1987. If you want to do the math, you can. But the teaching field that I entered into looks nothing like the teaching field of today. We are asking more and more of our teachers than we ever have before. And we have got to get back to a partnership with our community in which there is a mutual respect and there was a time in which the world of education was a partnership. It wasn't the parents aren't doing their job or the teacher's not doing their job, so therefore we're not going to meet in the middle. There was a time in which everyone worked together for the betterment of that child and their education and what they were going to become as they reached an adult. Now we live in a society in which if you don't agree with me, well then I want nothing to do with you. We've got to get back to some level of civility. We've got to get back to a time frame in which teachers were held in the level of respect that they deserve. It is a profession. Are they 100% perfect? Absolutely not. None of us in this room are. Teachers make mistakes. But there was a time in which you sent your child to school and there was some level of trust that the teacher was going to do the best they can. Yes, there are circumstances in which a teacher might make a mistake or do something over here, and that makes the headlines in the news. But by and large, the profession is still led by pure-hearted individuals that love what they do for a living. They got into it because they love kids. I would ask that we get back to some level of partnership with our community and a level of civility in which if you don't agree with a teacher, if you don't agree with an administrator, if you don't agree with me, let's sit down and talk and work through whatever the issue is. And I guarantee we can reach middle ground. We're all in it for the same reason. Educators love what they do because they love kids. We love the lasting impact that we're going to have on this community and society in general. That would be what I ask of our community members in terms of supporting our teachers.
Thanks, Dr. McDaniel, for the inspiring words. Mr. Mayor, a question for you. So, what do you see for the future of development along 121, along the 121 corridor? So we know that there is currently 500,000 square feet under construction. So what's happening?
Yeah, 121 is, it's exciting right now, and what's going to happen, you can actually see right now what is happening, and that tells you what's going to happen from beautiful buildings with like Independent Financial to the 8-story Kaizen building, all of the as I talked about earlier, the entertainment, recreation, the shopping, restaurant, all of that's happening in District 121, Hub 121, all the things that as a community. We've all for years hopefully we're not hearing it near as much now as we did, but in the past, there was a lot of discussion about, God, we need things like Plano, or we need things like Frisco as far as the Waters Creek, the Legacy Wests, those types of things. And here we are now coming into our own in a much, in my mind, a much better, bigger, and greater way in developments like the ones I just discussed, and the Hub. Our downtown, of course, is just blossoming and blooming, where we have all those things here in McKinney. And so what you're going to see along 121 is just a combination of great corporate development. Again, David Craig and Craig International and what they've done in preserving land and corporate, the Craig Corporate Center, EDC, for all the work EDC has done, and the forethought in securing land and preserving it for the right development. These are steps that the city has taken and organizations like EDC have taken for years. I talked about my predecessors before me that had that foresight. So what you're going to see is what you're seeing it now, and you're going to see it continue to grow and be just the most impressive section of 121 there is.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Matkin, a question for you. So are you seeing more interest in vocationalism education, and how are you addressing that?
The Collin College has actually been in the medical business for a long time. We've trained a whole lot of folks in the healthcare fields, and we've been in IT for a long time, as well as public safety, our police officers, our EMTs, our firefighters. This last fall, a year and a half ago, we opened up a new campus, a technical campus in Allen, introducing things like welding, HVAC, electrical, all these different trades. And so we are seeing an increased interest in it. And the thing about community colleges is the vast majority of our graduates do what? They stay in our community. They may go away for university, but they generally come home. And so as a result of that, we are seeing an increased interest. We've got tremendous partnerships with our ISDs, McKinney included, and especially, that really take advantage of the career and technical education offerings at the K-12 level, and then take it up and offer some avenues and pathways. And folks, when you consider that a person can go and get a 2-year or 1-year certificate and immediately be working in the healthcare industry or working in the automotive industry and making a very, very healthy, livable wage salary, then it's well worth it for us to continue answering that need. And so we are hearing it. We are seeing an increased interest. And there are, again, a number of students that want to transfer to local universities and finish their bachelor's degrees and go into various professional fields. And the truth of the matter is we need all of them. And so we're happy to be part of that balance, but we are seeing increased interest.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Mackin. So I think I've gone through most of the questions that have been submitted online. Are there additional questions that from the audience? Any cards that could be collected? Well, great. Well, then I'll give our panelists one last opportunity to share anything that they would like to with the group or any upcoming announcements.
I'll start and just say, I truly am honored to be up here with you, Rick and Neil. You guys, what you do for McKinney Independent School District and Collin College is such a huge part of making this community so sought after, being the best community there is in this country, in my mind. But it's our school system, you guys are just such an integral part. So honored to be up here with you. Paul had to leave, but to serve with Paul and the city staff, I just want to, man, if you don't know how great you have it in the city of McKinney for people like Paul Grimes to be at the helm and all of his staff, our police department, our fire department, we are blessed. We are blessed in this community in such a huge way. And the guys that I've shared the stage with today are such integral parts of that. And so it's an honor to be up here with you guys and talk. And I'm honored to serve as mayor. McKinney is going. What is our motto? Our future is bright, and I think everyone has seen that. We've seen how we've come through COVID, just bigger and better than you ever could have imagined. So, just great future ahead of us, and I'm so honored and just honored to be part of it.
What I'd add to that, George and Rick, is the word partnership. There are a lot of different places that have a lot of independent efforts. But when you take those efforts and you actively work to align them for the good of the community, really amazing things start to happen. And from the time, George, that you were elected and your predecessors, and certainly Rick, you and I have had a fantastic working relationship going on now 7 years. It's just absolutely incredible what happens when you align people in partnerships. And there's really, as Rick, you commented earlier about, if you disagree, let's find middle ground. We haven't found a problem that we haven't been able to solve. And as long as Rick is buying lunch, we can usually solve almost anything.
Well, I would concur with everything that was said. I'm sitting here thinking about what, if I was a community member, what would I want to hear from these individuals on stage? What I would want to hear is that I'm in good hands, whatever comes down the pike. We saw this past year, whether it was a winter storm, the pandemic, whatever it was, we saw a collective group of community members work together to get us through probably one of our darkest hours. And I know that I certainly leaned on these individuals on stage, and there are several members out in this audience that I had the privilege of working with to get us through some really, really tough times. And, whether it was a phone call from George at whatever hour in the morning saying, we need your gym. We got to set up an overnight shelter for those that don't have heat or to whatever comes down the line. Just rest assured and know this is not just show right here. We really do enjoy working with each other. And as a community, we love being here. We love working in partnership with the individuals in this room and in our community. And you can rest assured knowing that this is not just show. We really do work well together, and we're in good hands whatever comes down the line, and we are prepared. So that should make you feel good.
Wonderful. Well, give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so very much. These have been fantastic questions for our insider experience. And so now we'd like to welcome the Chamber of Commerce Chair, Julie Williams, for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Amy. So do we live in an awesome place or what? I don't know about you all. But I feel very positive about the state of our city and the bright future. And that is in large part due to the excellent partnerships that our city, McKinney ISD, Collin College, and the business community have. That makes us very unique in McKinney, and it makes it the place to be. I would like to recognize Prosperity Bank again for being our presenting sponsor, and a thank you to the Platinum, Copper, Gold, and Silver sponsors. All of these sponsors make it possible for us to do this programming, and we appreciate you very much. That's a wrap from us. Thank you for joining us here and online. Have a great day and a happy Thanksgiving.